DC heroes save the world because it's the right thing to do. DC villains destroy it because they can. But DC antiheroes, they operate in the space between, where the moral lines blur and the body count is negotiable. Today I'm breaking down every major DC antihero, what makes them tick, and why they're some of the most compelling characters in comics. Starting with the one who literally came back from the dead to prove Batman wrong, Red Hood. Jason Todd was a street kid caught stealing the tires off the Batmobile. Bruce Wayne looked at this feral child committing grand theft auto in Crime Alley and thought, yeah, that's my new sidekick. And honestly, it worked for a while. But Jason was never Dick Grayson. He was volatile, aggressive, and had zero patience for the revolving door at Arkham Asylum. He was a more dangerous Robin, and fans noticed. Here's where it gets dark. In 1988, DC let readers call a 900 number to vote on whether Jason lived or died. Pick up the phone, dial a number, decide if a teenager gets murdered. Death won by a razor-thin margin, so the Joker beat Jason with a crowbar and left him in an exploding warehouse. Cool. That's also a thing that happened. Jason stayed dead for years, until Talia al Ghul dunked his corpse into a Lazarus pit, which restored his body but cranked his rage up to levels that would make the Hulk uncomfortable. He came back to Gotham as the Red Hood, a name dripping with irony because it was the Joker's old alias. He didn't just fight crime, he took over Gotham's underworld and executed anyone who sold drugs to kids or committed murder. His moral code includes bullets. What separates Jason from Batman isn't skill, it's philosophy. His confrontation with Batman and under the Red Hood is the single best distillation of this tension. He doesn't ask why Batman won't kill criminals. He asks why Batman won't kill the Joker. After the crowbar, after the warehouse, after him. That's not nihilism. That's a son asking his father a question he'll never get a satisfying answer to. But if Jason Todd's moral absolutism makes you uncomfortable, wait until you meet the man who'd sacrifice his best friend to win a card game with the devil. John Constantine. Where Jason Todd has a code carved in stone, John Constantine has a napkin with some scribbles on it that he'll light on fire if it's convenient. He's not a superhero who does magic. He's a horror movie protagonist who somehow ended up in the same universe as Superman, and honestly, neither of them is happy about it. Constantine crawled out of the pages of Swamp Thing in the 1980s, before headlining Hellblazer in 1988, a mature reader's Vertigo title that let him smoke, swear, and get people killed in ways DC's main line wouldn't touch. He was built from the ground up as a street-level English occultist, working class, foul-mouthed, the kind of guy who treats saving the world like an annoying chore he keeps getting roped into. Here's the thing about Constantine. He's technically one of the most powerful magicians in DC. Spellcasting, necromancy, illusions, pyrokinesis, wards, you name it. But his actual superpower is being a con man, the greatest con man in the entire DC universe. He has manipulated Superman, Batman, and literal demons, not through raw power, but by being 3 steps ahead and completely willing to cheat. He also has this ability called synchronicity wave riding, which is basically supernatural luck. He's always in the right place at the right time, always meets exactly the person he needs, always survives situations that should absolutely kill him. The catch? That luck works for him, not for the people around him. His first major failure involved summoning the demon Nergal under the wrong name, which got a child killed. And that pattern never stops. Friends die, lovers die, innocent bystanders die. Constantine wins, lights a cigarette, and carries the guilt just long enough to do it all over again. The Dangerous Habits storyline literally gave him terminal lung cancer and turned his own death into a bargaining chip against 3 Lords of Hell. Because of course it did. He's punk rock, anti-establishment, and hostile toward every authority figure in existence, including God. He's not a sanitized wizard with a staff and a prophecy. He's the guy who will sacrifice your life to save the world, and then feel terrible about it at the pub. But if Constantine's morality is slippery, the next anti-hero on this list turned theft into an entire lifestyle. Catwoman. Most anti-heroes on this list earn their gray area through body counts. Catwoman earns hers by stealing your necklace and making you thank her for it. Selina Kyle first showed up as the Cat in Batman #1 back in 1940, a glamorous burglar who also happened to be the one woman Batman couldn't figure out. She wasn't trying to poison the water supply or blow up City Hall. She was stealing diamonds and flirting with the guy chasing her. Her crimes were non-lethal, her escapes were theatrical, and Batman kept accidentally letting her get away. Sure, Bruce, totally an accident. For decades, she bounced between villain and love interest, but from the 1990s onward, her solo series finally gave her real depth. Modern Catwoman has largely left the villain label behind. She's a frequent ally of the Bat family and operates with her own moral code that's honestly more consistent than half the actual heroes in Gotham. Here's the thing though, she has zero superhuman powers. None. What she does have is master-level thievery, acrobat-level agility, martial arts training, and terrifying proficiency with a bullwhip, plus an entire toolkit somehow concealed in a skin-tight bodysuit. I don't know where she keeps it all. Nobody does. But what makes her an anti-hero isn't the stealing. It's who she steals from. Selina targets corrupt elites, abusive figures, and people who exploit the powerless. She patrols the marginalized neighborhoods of Gotham that Batman's broader war on crime just doesn't reach. The East End doesn't get a bat signal. It gets Catwoman. And then there's the romance. Over 80 years of on-again, off-again tension with Batman, evolving from rooftop chases into genuine, complicated love. They've nearly gotten married multiple times. And every time it forces Bruce to confront the same impossible question. Can he commit to someone whose entire profession violates everything he stands for? She doesn't challenge his code with violence. She challenges it with intimacy. Fans still argue about whether she should ever fully commit to heroism, because the moment Selina stops being a little bit dangerous, a little bit selfish, a little bit willing to steal something just because she wants it, she stops being Catwoman. She's proof that anti-heroism doesn't need a body count. Sometimes, all it needs is a whip, a penthouse full of stolen art, and the ability to make the world's greatest detective forget his own rules. But if you think moral gray areas are complicated when it's about theft and romance, wait until we talk about a guy who levels entire civilizations because he believes it's justice. Black Adam. Every character we've covered so far operates on a personal level, stealing for themselves, fighting for their city, settling their own grudges. Black Adam doesn't care about any of that. Black Adam operates on a national level, and that changes everything. Teth Adam first showed up in the Marvel Family #1 back in 1945, and for decades, he was exactly what you'd expect. A generic evil counterpart to Captain Marvel. Ancient Egyptian champion gets powers, goes corrupt, gets banished, comes back angry. Standard villain stuff. Nobody was writing essays about him. Then the late 90s happened. Writers on JSA and 52 took this one-dimensional bad guy and turned him into something genuinely unsettling. A nationalistic anti-hero with Superman-level power and zero interest in playing by anyone else's rules. The key was Kondak. Give a god-tier powerhouse a fictional Middle Eastern nation he loves more than anything. One with a history of being invaded and exploited. And suddenly his brutality has context. He's not destroying things because he's evil. He's destroying things because he's patriotic, which is, somehow worse. His powers come from channeling Egyptian deities through the magic word Shazam, stamina of Shu, speed of Heru, strength of Amon, wisdom of Zehudi, power of Aton, courage of Mehen. In practical terms, he's effectively immortal, can survive in space, and takes hits that would reduce most heroes to a fine mist. He can project magical lightning offensively, and even dodge his own transformation bolt so it strikes whoever's standing behind him. Imagine Superman, but angrier and with zero accountability to anyone outside his borders. And his methods match the power set. Black Adam will commit mass slaughter if he believes Kondak is threatened, not might, will. He has ripped people apart on panel for less, yet he's also fought alongside the Justice Society when their goals happen to overlap with his. He's not a villain. He's not a hero. He's a head of state with the power of 6 gods, and absolutely no patience for diplomacy. The 2022 film leaned into this, presenting him as a vengeful protector freed from magical imprisonment to liberate Kondak from Intergang. He clashes with the Justice Society over his habit of killing everyone immediately, before becoming a grudging ally against the demon Sabak. Even then, he makes it clear, Kondak is his. Touch it and die. But if Black Adam scares you because of what he does with god-tier power, wait until you meet someone who's just as dangerous with nothing but human biology and a mercenary contract. Deathstroke. Every anti-hero we've talked about so far has a reason beyond money. Ideology, trauma, national pride, something. Slade Wilson doesn't need any of that. He just needs a contract and a number with enough zeros on it. Deathstroke debuted in the new Teen Titans #2 back in 1980, and his origin reads like a government experiment gone exactly right, which is somehow worse than if it had gone wrong. Slade was a US Army soldier who volunteered for an experimental super soldier program. The serum worked perfectly. It gave him the strength of 10 men, superhuman speed and reflexes, and here's the part that makes him genuinely terrifying. It cranked his brain capacity up to 90%. He can think and process information 9 times faster than a normal human being. Let that sink in. That means while you're still deciding whether to throw a punch, Slade has already mapped out every possible version of the fight and picked the one where he wins. He treats combat like a chess match where he's 12 moves ahead and his opponent hasn't even sat down at the board yet. On top of that, he's a master of basically every weapon that exists. Swords, staves, firearms, explosives. He's a trained martial artist wearing advanced body armor, and he approaches every job with the cold efficiency of a man filling out a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet of murder, but still. And unlike most names on this list, Slade kills without hesitation. Lethal force isn't a last resort, it's just Tuesday. He accepts contracts against heroes, governments, criminal organizations, whoever's paying. But here's the thing, he's not a mindless hitman. He has a genuine sense of professional pride and a code. He'll refuse contracts that cross his personal lines, and if an employer double-crosses him, that employer becomes the next target. Free of charge, presumably. What makes Deathstroke more than just a cool suit and a big sword is his family. His relationships with his children and his ex-wife are an absolute disaster, but they're a human disaster. There's real affection buried under all the dysfunction, real regret tangled up in choices he keeps making anyway. He's a man who can calculate 9 possible outcomes of a knife fight in half a second, but cannot figure out how to be a decent father. Which is, not ideal, but if you think a human mercenary with a 90% brain is scary, wait until you meet the alien bounty hunter who wiped out his own planet for fun. Lobo. Every character we've covered so far has some kind of code, some line they won't cross. Lobo has none of that. Zero. This is a character who committed genocide on his entire species as a teenager and gave himself an A for the project. Let me explain. Lobo is from the planet Sarnia, a utopian world full of peaceful, nearly immortal beings who had basically figured out how to live in perfect harmony. Beautiful place, great people. And then Lobo was born. As a teenager, he engineered swarms of deadly scorpion-like creatures specifically designed to wipe out every single Zarnian on the planet. Not because they wronged him, not because of some tragic backstory. He just wanted to be unique. He wanted to be the last of his kind, so he made it happen. His name literally translates to one who devours your entrails and thoroughly enjoys it, which is, not ideal for a baby name. But here's the thing. Despite being the most morally bankrupt character on this list by a wide margin, Lobo is also one of the most powerful. His strength puts him comfortably above 100 tons. He can survive unprotected in deep space, and his healing factor is so absurdly overpowered that he can regenerate his entire body from a single drop of blood. He's been banned from both heaven and hell because neither afterlife wants to deal with him. The guy is too annoying to die. That's not a joke. That's canon. He is officially immortal because the cosmic forces of the universe collectively said no thank you. Professionally, Lobo works as an interstellar bounty hunter. He rides a space motorcycle, wields a giant chain and hook, and has one rule. Once he takes a contract, he finishes it. He also has a sense of smell that can track a single person across entire solar systems, which is a terrifying ability to give someone with absolutely no moral compass. And that's kind of the point. Lobo was created as a deliberate parody of the edgy, hyper-violent anti-hero trend that dominated late 80s and early 90s comics. The impossible body count, the gleeful nihilism. He's what happens when you take every cool anti-hero trope and crank them all to 11 simultaneously. A satire of characters like Wolverine and the Punisher, except the satire became so popular that people started unironically loving him for the exact traits he was making fun of. I don't know what to tell you, but if Lobo represents the anti-hero concept pushed to its most absurd extreme, the next entry might be its most uncomfortable, because Peacemaker believes he's the hero of his own story, and that's what makes him dangerous. Peacemaker. Here's a character whose entire existence is a contradiction so obvious it loops back around to being genius. Christopher Smith, the Peacemaker, is a man who will achieve peace at any cost, no matter how many men, women, and children he has to kill to get it. That's his motto. He will literally murder anyone on the planet if he believes it brings the world one step closer to peace. Which is, not ideal. The wild thing is, this character started at Charlton Comics in the late 1960s 1960s as a pacifist diplomat. DC acquired him, he sat in obscurity for decades, and then James Gunn got his hands on the concept and said, what if we took this completely literally and made it horrifying? The result was the Suicide Squad and the Peacemaker TV series, and suddenly everybody knew who this guy was. The DCEU version of Christopher Smith is a violent vigilante raised by his racist, abusive father Augie Smith, who basically programmed his son to believe that American exceptionalism and extreme violence were the same thing as keeping the peace. He's not a supervillain. He genuinely thinks he's a hero. That's what makes him terrifying. He has zero superhuman abilities. What he does have is a closet full of specialized helmets, each one granting a completely different power. Sonic boom blasts, full-body force fields, X-ray vision, anti-gravity, a human torpedo helmet that turns you into a living projectile. It's like if Iron Man's entire personality was replaced by a guy who peaked in high school and never questioned a single thing his father told him. In the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker murders Rick Flag, not a villain, a teammate. He does it to prevent the exposure of American complicity in the Project Starfish experiments because he believes revealing the truth would destabilize global peace. He kills a good man to protect a government lie and sleeps fine. That's the thesis of the character in one scene, but here's where it gets complicated. The TV series actually gives him depth, the guilt over his brother's death, the weight of killing Flag cracking through the armor. He begins drawing lines he never had before, questioning his handlers, and ultimately turning against the mission when he realizes the people giving him orders are worse than the people he's been killing. It's a slow, messy, incomplete redemption, which is exactly why it works. Peacemaker is satire wearing a chrome helmet. His entire concept exposes how security states justify extreme violence under the banner of peace. We had to destroy the village to save it, taken to its most absurd logical endpoint. But if Peacemaker is the anti-hero built on a contradiction, the next one is built on an escape. And her story starts with the worst boyfriend in comic book history, Harley Quinn. Most anti-heroes on this list started in comics. Harley Quinn started as a cartoon sidekick. She showed up in a single 1992 episode of Batman, the animated series called Joker's Favor, created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm as the Joker's quirky henchwoman. That was supposed to be it. One episode, done. But fans lost their minds over her, and DC had no choice but to bring her into the main comics. Harley Quinn exists because the audience literally demanded it. Her backstory is one of the darkest in DC. Dr. Harleen Quinzel was a promising psychologist at Arkham Asylum who got assigned to interview the Joker. She was supposed to study him. Instead, he studied her. He manipulated her, broke her down, and rebuilt her into his accomplice. For years, her entire identity revolved around that relationship. She took the beatings, made excuses, went back. It was textbook abuse dressed up in clown makeup, and the fact that DC eventually made her escape from that the central arc of her character is probably the smartest thing they've done with her, because modern Harley is a completely different animal. Solo comics, Birds of Prey, Suicide Squad, Gotham City Sirens. Her powers got a quiet upgrade through Poison Ivy, giving her enhanced durability and toxin immunity on top of the acrobatics and the giant mallet she swings like she's playing a very aggressive game of croquet. But what actually makes her dangerous is that nobody, including Harley herself, knows what she's gonna do next. Her anti-heroism isn't built on a code like Red Hood's. It's built on chaos. She'll beat a drug dealer half to death with a baseball bat and then stop to rescue a stray dog in the same afternoon. She shows genuine tenderness toward the vulnerable and causes roughly 40% more property damage than the situation requires. Her relationship with Ivy has become the stabilizing force in her life, nudging her towards something resembling consistent heroism, while she retains every ounce of the mayhem. Here's the thing though, Harley works best when the story doesn't pretend she's clean. She's done terrible things. She's hurt people who didn't deserve it. The power of her art isn't that she became a good person overnight. It's that she's trying chaotically and with a lot of collateral damage to become something better than what the Joker made her, and that's the whole spectrum right there. From Red Hood's rigid, lethal justice all the way to Harley Quinn's beautiful, unpredictable mess. Every anti-hero on this list lives in the space between hero and villain, and not a single one of them is interested in picking a side. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.